States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask you to stand for a moment of silence. Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Persing?
Here.
Shipman?
Here.
Reichner?
Here.
Henry?
Here.
Eister?
Is there any audience comment on any of the agenda items right now? Okay. Anything for the redevelopment authority? Okay. Jamie over here at the CDBG. Unfinished business, Cullen subdivision. Rick, Mike?
Jonesy. Yep. Mayor, Council, we've advanced on this Golden subdivision to the point where tonight I'm asking for your final approval. The Sunbury Municipal Authority Water and Sewer both approved on the 20th and 21st of January. You approved the stormwater waiver on the 26th of January. County Planning approved the plan on the 27th of January. City Engineer's first review was done on the 7th of February of this year. His final review was done on the 10th. And the city planning approval was given on the 19th. So we're asking for your final approval on the subdivision with the Skull and Oil. There is going to be no construction, no expansion, just basic subdivision.
Mayor, if I can interject quick here, I guess when their father owned the business, he had a lot of sub-corporations that leased here, so he was getting rent, and they want to get them corporations dissolved and get them back in the company's business, basically what the properties. No, there's no development or anything on them at all.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make that motion.
Yes. Yes, second.
Reichner?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Eister?
Yes.
Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes. John, how about we get rid of the liquid fuels and approval to pay the invoices?
All right. We have $145,238.11 of general fund expenses and $8,545.23 of liquid fuel expenses. Make a motion that we pay our bills.
Henry?
Yes.
Eister? Persing?
Yes.
Shipman?
Yes.
Reichner?
Yes.
Okay, one of the main reasons we're here tonight is to discuss the Sunbury Police Department and some issues that have been brought forth to our attention within the past month. We have three things to discuss tonight. The first one, that there was a grievance filed by the police, the union, pretty much against me in the 12-hour scheduled shift that they had. We met before this meeting in executive session to talk from their viewpoint, and what we have agreed to is that we will suspend that hearing until March the 16th, vote on it on March the 23rd, but between now and that time, we will look at various other schedules, looking for a compromise between that 12-hour schedule and the 8-hour schedule now. The big difference is the amount of days off in the other schedule compared to the working schedule that they're on right now. So we feel that there could be, and I know the chief has about, everybody's always given us a separate schedule, so I guess we'll be working on that to try to find out a way to see if we can't come up with a compromise. So tonight we will not vote on that. Again, we're just officially suspending that meeting until such time that we can at least look at another option, or various options if that's what they bring toward us. All right. The second issue we're going to talk about tonight was that the Sunbury Police Department has some allocations that we take very seriously. One of those happened at the 911 center. Everybody knows that is in the city of Sunbury. I want it to be known officially that there was never any sexual harassment charges filed against the officer that is in discussion with this situation. There was clearly a complaint filed on what I'm going to call appropriate language that was worked in the working area. And we're not here to defend what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. In this day and age, I believe everybody in this room knows what that is. But we clearly had some words that shouldn't have been said that were said. The officer recognizes that. There was an interview of 3 people, talked to 5 people, have written statements from 5 people, so it's not anything in question. as to what happened or what didn't happen. It's pretty out, everything's up front, and that's why I'm here tonight, to put an end to this. I actually talked to Commissioner Clausy today, and he's down in Florida, to let everybody know what's happening. But the agreement is that the officer in charge, and again, let me remind you, this is a personnel issue, so there's no names going to be brought up here. But I'm just trying to guarantee you that this was investigated, the reports are in. Again, that's information that's not to be dissolved either. But what we have is a week off without pay. We have a written reprimand in his file, which is very serious. And he shall not enter the facility unless mandated by a supervisor for a specific case. So I assured Commissioner Clausy that we have taken care of the situation that was up there. In the meantime, we will look at some counseling for this officer at the same time. We checked, it's been a couple years since we had it for all of them, so we may get into that for the entire department down the road, when and if we can arrange that to come about. But it's very important that we keep our working relationship with the Northumberland County 911 Center. It's clearly a major part of what we do in the city of Sunbury. We need to be able to keep that rapport going, and the last thing we want is for somebody not to be let in when they have to be in, when it really could save somebody's life. So I'm guaranteeing you that this isn't going to happen again. We will have that rapport with the county, and the emergency issues that take place on a day-to-day basis up there will be followed through, and we're not going to put anything to block that. Investigation, and the third part that we're going to talk about tonight, which is even more serious, I believe. And again, let me remind you that we're dealing on facts. We had an investigation also put forth. A different person did this investigation. And the ruling what we're making tonight is based on those facts, and those facts only. So the internal investigation was done pretty much on improper behavior by a city police officer while working his assigned schedule. And this was based on a citizen's complaint that I received in my office. The following results were found after interviewing the office and a private individual. The findings provide details of the two parties meeting on city time and having discussions that led to situations after working hours. But there was no finding of proof that the two parties meeting on city time and having discussions led to anything other than the discussions. And we looked at a lot of phone calls and a lot of pages and a lot of things that happened. Both parties did agree that meetings were arranged, and the city, of course, the city patrol car was used to make those meetings. So at this time, based on those facts and those facts only, the officer is getting 3 weeks off without pay, a written reprimand, and no use of a city police car to leave the city of Sunbury limits for any reason whatsoever unless it's an emergency and it is mandated by a supervisor at that time. Again, we take these very serious. We take the allegations that were made very serious. And if the time ever comes about that there's different results or different proof or whatever it may be, we don't shove anything under it. The main reason, again, I wanted to take care of this tonight is the city has been getting a lot of negative publicity out of this, and I don't believe it's deserved by two officers that clearly made a mistake and should know better as far as overall behavior. So at this time, everything is out in the open that we can talk about. Again, there's no discussion on names, there's no discussion on particulars. It is a personnel issue. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I, for a fact, know that this officer...
Can we have your name? I'm sorry.
Roberta Rosencrantz. I have seen this officer, I think it was New Year's Eve. I was coming into town, and out of nowhere he came up 147 with his lights on. It was a Sunbury police officer car with his lights on to pass all the traffic to come back into town. I'd like to know how's that allowed?
Wasn't there? I have no idea of the situation. If he was going to a life-threatening thing with his lights on, I don't know where he was going. I don't even know what officer you're talking about. But I'm more than willing, anything you want to bring up as far as a complaint to the police department, my office is open all the time.
Why didn't the state cops do an investigation instead of their own cops?
To do an investigation on the second one or the first one?
Second one.
The second one.
The information is there. There's no information to decide anything else.
But it's one of their own doing an investigation on one of their own.
Right, and if there was more, and I can agree with that if there would be more things out there, but what we have right now, there's nothing here for a dismissal.
So if there is more stuff that can be brought to you, then it will be looked at more?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, the door is always open for grounds, any accusation, just, you know, we just need to get, we'll look at anything, we just need proof of what happened.
okay.
Any discussion? Open discussion. North 4th Street addresses, Dale?
Yes, you guys all have maps in front of you. They're in order. Let me introduce you. This is Eric. He's our 911 addressing director, coordinator. And this is Keith. He's our GIS specialist. Keith is full-time with the county now, and he approached me. His job is to basically go over addressing, make sure everything's proper. And right off the bat, they found some instances on Court and Schmoken Street and on North 4th Street. At this time, Keith or Eric, you want to jump in here and tell us where we're heading, what's going on, and then we'll look at the future.
Sure. Basically, it's just overall, some of the addresses in those areas are a little bit off. There's some parity issues where you have odds and evens on the same side of the street. You have a couple addresses that are not necessarily in the right street range. But what we have on the papers there in front of you is what the possible corrections could be for those addresses. If you'd like to, look them over and verify if those changes would work.
Like, the first one is, on the top sheet would be Shamokin coming off the Market and Court Street. That little loop that goes around in front of Manor Care never had a name. Over to the left where it says 805 Court Street, circle now. What was the previous address? What were they using?
They're currently using 55A and 55B Wolverton Street.
Which
And-
isn't even close to that. If you look at where the Manor Care is, they're 800, and across the streets, they're all evens. Actually, the Manor Care should have an odd number. The one there in the corner, it used to be Lanker Product and Manufacturing. What's their address now?
Which, are they in the 805 also?
I think that's the 272 Short.
Yeah, that's what you want to make it?
That building is 721 Market.
Yeah, that's the address that they're using now, but they're actually between Court and Shamokin Street. So, Keith, what was the address you came up for that one?
It'd be a Schmoken Street address,
Where's Shamokin?
72?
yeah, 264 Schmoken Street.
Okay.
Who will be notifying these people of the changes? You guys?
Yeah, we can take care of making the notifications.
John, did you hear that 264 Shamokin Street?
Okay?
And what it is this is correlating when we started with our street addresses or the street names. We're, still working on that. And since these guys work together in the hall, we get to talk about it.
The proposed changes are on the second map for that Court Street area.
Yeah, if you look at the second page, those would be the current addresses that would be listed. Then if you go to the third page, where Dunkin' Donut is, originally they were supposed to be on the other side of West Coast Video through whatever, why they ended up over here now, I don't know the reason for that. But they carry the address of 1183, and it's way before 1181, so you guys want to change that one to,
Yeah, I believe that one was 1161.
that would be 1161 instead of 1183.
They had given us the wrong location when they submitted for their original address. So in the future, if anybody should happen to build, it could cause an addressing conflict between Sherwin-Williams and West Coast. So that's why we were proposing that change.
And then if you go to the fourth page, that is the 4th Street Plaza Complex. The ones that have blue dots, there's 4 of them. From the beginning is the Lincoln dealership, and the end one is Biters, and 2 in between all have 1125 address. They're all the same address. But the ones in between have, well, let's say, correct addresses. So what they're proposing is start with the Lincoln dealership is 1125, and then just give everybody the addresses following up, and they'll all be in order. And Keith explained to me today that if there's, how does that work if there's an address not in CAD and somebody calls in, what happens?
Yeah, for instance, like on the, back on the Wolverton Street, the folks that are using the 55A and 55B, that right now is not in the system. So if they would call in with that address, that would not verify, it wouldn't validate in the 911 system. So that being said, then you're relying on the dispatcher to know the area, find the location, and probably more importantly, once they get a valid address, it will give them the units to dispatch. If it doesn't have a valid address, they will have to go by knowledge to dispatch the units rather than having that recommendation that's given to them by the fire chiefs in their box right there.
And we could have a dispatcher that's new or not even familiar with the area to walk them through. So what I said to them, since I'm working on the streets, name changes, getting them, I would be willing to work with them. As we get updates or whatever they would give them to me, we can bring them back, we'll show the council every time. And we can vote on them every time. At least it's in a matter of public record at that time. Is everybody okay with me working with them on that? These are the proposed changes right now.
I got a question. You said the 264 Shamokin Street. On the next page, you have that same address being 902 Port Street now.
Yeah, that's been eliminated since then. Dale looked into that one for us. I thought just by looking at it that there may be a unit in the back that may need addressed, but he looked into that and
Yeah,
said that
actually, I
that's
found
an
out today
extension
from
of
Saturday, Billy Shipman owns that. The whole bottom is a garage and they live upstairs. If you look at it from Google Earth, it looks like there's 2 apartments, but it's all one unit.
So you're still gonna make it the Shamokin Street address?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Mike, if you go back to the first page, we're gonna call that Port Street Circle. It goes in front of the manor, okay? And anything else, Eric?
The Court Street Circle would be removed. That's currently what's there, but I don't believe that's a valid street name.
Keith, these maps in-house, make
Yeah.
these in-house?
Yep, yep.
And after you're all done, a year from now, whatever, can we have a copy of the city?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do, we'll work with you and get it. This is just an opening, the process.
That's nice mapping is what I'm getting at.
It is. Yeah, it'll be beneficial. They can make us copies. We can have good layouts of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, we can get you whatever you need map-wise, that's not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
So, you guys have any other questions? If not, you guys okay with me handling it? And then we'll just deal with it as
Yep.
they come in?
Mr. Henry, if I could just suggest, when you are doing the address changes, if you could let the code office know so we can update our files as you're updating yours.
Well, if that's the case, can we get Mike involved with too to help? If we go with it?
That's fine with me.
Also, tax assessment office too, you give them address changes too?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, tax assessment, we also notify the post office if any changes.
Okay, thanks.
This guy's the most important because we're going to make sure we get our tax collection from him. We'll have the right address.
All right, thanks, guys.
No problem. Recap of landlord meeting, Rick.
Yeah, just a quick overview. I think some of you people were here last week, and I think the meeting went well. I think hopefully we conveyed the reasons why we need the information we need. But that's it. I think it went well. I think we had upwards of 60 people here anyway. Yeah, I think it went really well, and if you have any questions, we're here, we're welcome to do it. And once we get some information, change around and get some updates on these forms and stuff, maybe later this year or beginning of next year, we'll have another one to just keep along with the process.
Okay. No announcements. Any other audience comment? Yes, ma'am.
There's an alley that runs, where Court Street comes from 11th Street down around and it meets Market Street. Right before Market, there's a small alley. It doesn't have a name and it doesn't have a stop sign, and I've almost got nailed twice coming down around. People come up through there, they don't stop. And I don't even know the name of the street.
Is it on this map?
I don't know if it's on the map, but I know where she's talking.
It's coming off East Chestnut.
Yeah. Oh, no.
But if there could be a stop sign put there.
East Chestnut support there.
Yeah.
Well, Brad, if you know where it's at, how about we give Mike and you tomorrow or whenever you go up and look at it and see
I'll
what.
take a look tomorrow and I'll go over it more.
Because there's,
Okay. We'll take a look at that.
thank you.
Anything else? I want to thank everybody for coming. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you, John. Enjoy the 84-degree weather.
Hi, Gordon.
You want to hear that right?
Yes,
I'm sitting there.
Oh, how?
Joseph.
How you doing, thanks, sir?